Your husband's still alive? 4 words, that's all it took to shatter Victor Russo's world. He stood frozen at Oakwood Cemetery. Rain pounding relentlessly down his navy trench coat like accusations from the heavens when the voice sliced through the oppressive silence behind him, soft yet young and sharp as a jagged dagger, piercing the veil of grief. He turned slowly, his heart thundering in his chest like a war drum. A boy no older than 11 stood just beyond the cluster of black-clad mourners, drenched to the bone, his thin frame shivering under a frayed hoodie, eyes too haunted, too wise for his tender age eyes that had seen the abyss and stared back. Unblinking, Victor's guards, hardened men, forged in the fires of Chicago's underbelly, shifted instinctively to intercept the intruder, their hands inching toward concealed weapons, ready to silence any threat. But Victor raised a trembling hand, his voice a low growl that brooked no argument. Let him talk. The boy didn't back down, didn't flinch under the weight of those piercing stares. I saw him the night of the fire. His words hung in the air like smoke from a dying blaze. They pulled him from the twisted wreckage. He was alive, horribly burned, screaming your name over and over like a mantra against the pain. They hauled him roughly into a gray truck, their grips like iron vices. Victor's fists clenched so tightly, his nails drew blood. His voice dropped to a deadly whisper, laced with ice and fury. Kid, my husband perished a year ago in that inferno. We combed the ruins for days, sifting through ash and melted steel. There were no survivors, only echoes of loss. The boy advanced undeterred, his soaked sneakers squelching on the wet grass. He had a tattoo, a bold, intricate one sprawling across his right shoulder, like a map of forgotten battles, and his hair was cropped short, black as midnight. He resisted them fiercely, kicking and clawing like a cornered wolf. Victor's pulse roared in his ears, a deafening torrent. That tattoo was Lorenzo's deepest hidden shame, etched into his skin during those brutal years in juvenile detention, a symbol of survival in a world that chewed up the weak concealed meticulously under a tapestry of inked eagle's wings, spread in defiance. No one knew about it. No one except Victor. He'd traced those lines with gentle fingers every dawn for 5 long years, mapping the scars of the man he loved more than life itself. What else? Victor pressed, his voice cracking like thunder on the horizon, demanding more, desperate for truth. Yet terrified of it, a ring. The boy continued, his gaze steady. A silver band engraved with a snarling wolf's head, and 2 initials intertwined like fates, sealed B&L. The ground beneath Victor seemed to tilt and spin, a vertigo of impossible hope. That ring was his engagement gift to Lorenzo Bespoke, crafted in a hidden forge. Their letters forever entwined, a vow, unspoken, yet unbreakable. He'd never breathed a word of it to another soul. It had never left Lorenzo's. Finger a talisman against the darkness. The boy dug deep into his sodden pocket, his small hand emerging with a charred leather wallet, singed and worn edges blackened by flame. But one photo remained miraculously intact, encased in fireproof plastic. Faded yet clear, the initial L burned into the leather like a brand. Victor's fingers shook violently as he grasped it, the world narrowing to that single artifact, where his demand was a guttural rasp near the abandoned steel mill on Dock 9, shrouded in shadows and forgotten industry. I watched from the deepest shadows, heart pounding like a trapped bird. They parked the truck there, engines idling like predators, and wait. A woman with a vicious scar, slashing across her face, issued the command. Her voice cold as Siberian wind, corporate tight red hair like spilled blood-tailored suit, sharp as her orders. She snarled, transport him before prying eyes spot us, move now or face the consequences. Victor gazed at the boy. Those hazel eyes held no deception, only raw, unfiltered truth and a desperation that mirrored his own soul's cry. What's your name? He whispered as if the answer might unravel the universe. Lucas. Why now? Why delay a full, agonizing year because adults, the so-called protectors, dismissed me like yesterday's trash? I told a firefighter once, my voice trembling with the weight of what I'd seen. He scoffed in my face, branded me a fantasist, a liar spinning tales for attention. But I'm no liar, I witnessed it all. Every horrifying second etched into my mind like acid on metal. Marco Victor's right-hand man leaned close, his breath hot and urgent. Boss, we must depart. The press is circling like vultures hungry for your grief. Victor ignored him, the world fading to the wallet in his hand, recollections crashing over him like tidal waves, drowning him in memory. Lorenzo's infectious grin that lit up the darkest rooms, his unyielding resilience forged in fire, the way he'd conquered his inner demons long before Victor ever. Pulled him from the abyss, start the vehicle, boss. Immediately before this turns ugly, the dark sedan pulled up sleek and ominous tires, crunching gravel like bones underfoot. Victor swung the door open with a creak that echoed his fracturing resolve, and eyed Lucas enter. The boy's brows rose in shock, a flicker of fear finally breaking through his stoic facade. You trust me? Victor's tone was low and lethal, a promise wrapped in threat. I trust you sufficiently to verify every word, and if accurate, I'm retrieving him no matter the cost in blood or souls. If mistaken hope, I forget your face forever. Pray for mercy, I rarely grant. Lucas boarded without pause, his small frame sinking into the leather seat as if accepting fate's cruel hand as the car departed, accelerating into the storm-lashed night. A woman in a red blazer lowered her high-powered scope from atop a rusted crane hidden in the cemetery's industrial fringe. She pressed a concealed gadget in her sleeve, her lips curling into a predatory smile. Contact established. She murmured into the void, advanced to stage 2. Let the game begin inside the sedan. Victor clutched the wallet like a fragile lifeline, the only tether to a life he thought forever severed for the first time in a year. 12 months of numb existence, faith scratched its jagged path back into a shattered core, clawing through layers of despair, and nothing had ever alarmed him more. The terror of hope reborn in a world built on betrayal. If this fulfills your spirit, ignites that spark, long dimmed hit, that like button with the force of your conviction, share it with someone craving this tale of shadows and redemption, and subscribe, lock in, because you won't want to miss the sequel, the storm that's brewing, the true query gnawing at the edges of sanity. Is if Lorenzo endured that devouring blaze, what sort of unimaginable torment has he endured? Chained in the depths for 12 endless, soul-crushing months, the sedan slid through the fog-laced avenues of Chicago like a ghost haunting its own past. Inside, the quiet was dense as iron, suffocating, pressing down with the weight of unspoken horrors. Victor sat facing Lucas, his piercing blue eyes fixed on the boy, like lasers dissecting truth from Marco. Drove with white-knuckled grip on the wheel, periodically peering in the rear-view mirror, his instincts screaming of danger, lurking in every shadow. The boy huddled in the seat's edge, a small, defiant figure mist, still trickling from his unkempt blonde locks like tears from the sky onto his frayed hoodie, worn thin by endless nights of survival. He wasn't quivering outwardly. No visible tremor betrayed him. He wasn't visibly terrified. He was merely anticipating in hush, a coiled spring ready to unleash. Victor initiated the silence, shattering like glass. Where's your homeboy? Lucas shrugged with a nonchalance born of hardship. No fixed spot, no walls to call his own, occasionally under viaducts where the trains rumble like distant thunder, sometimes in alleyways by the lakefront wind, whipping off Michigan like icy knives in summer, the brutal, humid hell. I discovered a deserted warehouse in South Side, its echoes my only company. Where are your folks? The question hung heavy, laden with unspoken pain. My dad passed 4 years back, a car accident, twisted metal, and shattered glass. I returned from soccer practice laughing with friends and saw the news flashing on the neighbor's TV. Like a nightmare unfolding in real time, his car mangled beyond recognition, eyes vacant, eternally staring at nothing, a void that swallowed my world. I dialed emergency with shaking hands. But they arrived too late, sirens wailing a futile lament. Lucas's tone held steady, an unwavering monotone, that masked the storm within, unfaltering, like a soldier, reciting battle reports he narrated, like reciting traffic updates, detached, clinical. That composure, that eerie calm informed Victor the agony was interred so profoundly buried under layers of scar tissue it was unreachable, a ghost haunting but never touching the surface. And your mother, the word soft, yet probing. I never knew her, a shadow in my father's stories. My dad rarely mentioned her, his voice cracking when he did. Perhaps he didn't. Either lost in the haze of his own regrets after Dad died, the system swallowed me whole. They placed me in Holy Cross Home in Evanston, a cold, sterile prison disguised as sanctuary. I remained 9 months, counting every endless day, then escaped. Bolted into the night. Why escape? The question that cut deepest. Lucas paused briefly, a flicker of old pain crossing his features, like a storm cloud, then hiked his cuff with deliberate slowness, exposing a faded scar, twisting around his wrist like a serpent's coil, a mark of cruelty, because some guardians, some so-called protectors, shouldn't approach kids. Their hands leave more than bruises. Victor comprehended instantly the unspoken horrors, the cycle of abuse that turned innocence to ash, he probed. No further, he'd witnessed similar marks on Lorenzo's frame scars that told tales of betrayal and survival to recognize some narratives required. No articulation, words would only cheapen the pain. So you fended alone since 8 tender years? Thrust into a merciless world I manage, Lucas replied with quiet defiance. I locate scraps in dumpsters behind restaurants, flavors of survival, secure nooks, to rest abandoned lots under stars that mock my loneliness. How to fade into backgrounds, become a ghost in the city's machine, when invisible. No harm comes, no fists, no worse. Victor inclined his head, a nod of respect for the boy's grit that night by the mill. What occupied you in that forsaken place, seeking cover from the blaze's acrid smoke, choking the air like poison, the inferno rage flames dancing like demons? I ducked into the mill's overhang, a crumbling relic, for protection from the chaos. I nestled behind rusted metal drums, heart hammering against my ribs when I heard an engine, growling like a beast. A gray SUV halted, brakes screeching. Then they unlocked the rear with a metallic clang and yanked him out roughly. He struggled, but outnumbered 5 shadows against 1-5. Figures. One with a facial scar, like lightning etched in flesh. She directed with a voice that cut like glass, and you stayed frozen in place. I was petrified. Bones turned to ice, but intrigued too, a morbid curiosity that rooted me. I concealed in debris, heart in throat, and peered through narrow slits in the metal. He noticed me, right a moment of connection amid horror, as they dragged him kicking and cursing to the mill's rear entrance, a maw of darkness. He twisted his head against their hold and stared directly into my hiding spot. I expected shouts, accusations that would doom me, but silence profound and piercing. He just etched my image into his soul, as if foreseeing that one day I'd narrate this nightmare. I'd be the voice he couldn't raise. Victor sensed his throat constrict, a vice of emotion squeezing tight. That was Lorenzo, ever the strategist mind racing ahead, ever hunting for survival's thread amid the suffocating despair that wallowed. How did you acquire it, a relic from the abyss, next dawn? I revisited, compelled by some invisible force. Hunting traces, clues in the ashes, found it discarded carelessly. Near the SUV's halt, tire marks still fresh. Must have dropped during the brutal haul amid the struggles. Kept it since tucked away like a secret, unaware of its profound significance, till his face splashed across headlines, a ghost rising from the grave. Victor pivoted to Marco, his voice a command. Past the device now, Marco delivered the secure phone, a fortress of encryption. Victor dialed, fingers flying, awaiting the connection. 3 tones dragged like eternity. Alex, hear the voice accompanied ceaseless keyboard clicks, a symphony of digital warfare. Need action. Now immediate and unflinching, Alex's pitch honed, sharpening like a blade. What's up, boss? The urgency in your tone. Lorenzo might live. The words hung heavy, a revelation that defied the grave. Pause lingered 4 agonizing seconds, a void of shock. Then tapping intensified a frenzy, doubling in speed, listening every detail. Boss, I'm on. It needs scan all feeds, every camera, every shadow in a 6-mile zone, sprawling around the old steel mill in South Side, night of April 21st. Last year, the date etched in, blood hunt a gray SUV. No stone unturned, 5 figures one with executive scarred face, a phantom in the night track, their path. Post mill, where did they vanish into the ether? Got it, few hours, I'll peel back the layers, no till dawn. The sun rises on answers, or heads roll, and Alex inform, none not a whisper. Not even lieutenants the inner circle suspect a leak, a serpent in our garden don't accuse, but trust sparingly, a lesson hard learned till my husband returns whole or in vengeance. Victor terminated the call, a click like a guillotine falling, and looked at Lucas, the boy scrutinized. Him with oddly adult hazel eyes, windows to a soul, age beyond years. Are you truly a syndicate leader? The question, bold, probing, Victor silent, a wall of stone, merely met the boy's stare, impassively, a challenge unspoken. Aren't you fearful of what this unleashes? Lucas negated with a shake of his head. Streets, 4 years of brutal education encountered beasts in human skin. Monsters that prowl the night you're distinct, a different breed. Why the curiosity burning your gaze, pained at his mention, a flicker of humanity in the storm-true beasts, lack suffering, they devour without remorse. Victor gazed out, the misted pain rain streaking like tears. Fog persisted, the city pulsed with indifferent life. But within him something stirred, primal and fierce, something presumed extinct with Lorenzo. A year prior now, roaring back to life, where headed Lucas inquired. Voice, small yet steady. My residence a fortress, you'll reside till resolved safe from the storm and beyond. Victor eyed the boy with a gaze that softened just a fraction. We'll decide. Then perhaps a new path unfolds. The sedan veered toward Lake Michigan's turbulent shores, where the Russo Manor loomed vast and imposing in the swallowing obscurity, a beacon in the dark, and somewhere in the gloom other watchers lingered, eyes gleaming with malice. The hunt had only just begun. The steel gates of the Russo Manor parted into the dusk, with a groan of metal like the jaws of fate opening. The sedan cruised the cobblestone path, a serpentine trail towering pines, immobile sentinels flanking under the relentless mist, their branches whispering secrets. Lucas gaped via the glass, his sight expanding wide with wonder and awe at the grand villa emerging ahead, a colossus of stone and glass, soft amber, glow poured from arched windows, like warm invitations hurling blurred echoes over the damp terrace, a haven amid chaos. He'd never beheld such a dwelling in his wildest dreams. It resembled a fortress from ancient tales he perused at night. The library on stolen afternoons, on days he sneaked in to evade the biting chill and the world's indifference. The car halted at the entry with a soft sigh. Marco exited, his movements precise and vigilant, and Victor guided, escorting Lucas with him. The fog had thinned, yielding mere wisps floating in the brisk air, like ghosts reluctant to depart. The massive teak door swung inward. With a heavy thud, and a lady advanced to welcome her presence. Commanding, she was near 60, her auburn hair elegantly coiled like a crown clad in refined gray, her visage stern, etched with lines of wisdom and loss, but her hazel eyes sparked with deep-seated worry upon seeing Victor. You're back. She uttered her tone, bearing a faint Sicilian lilt, a remnant of old-world roots. Why no prior call, the concern laced with reproach. Then her focus landed on Lucas, sharp and assessing. Who is he, this drenched urchin? Ma, this is Lucas Victor, stated curtly, his voice leaving no room for debate. He'll linger a while, guest in our storm. Maria Russo furrowed her brow, confusion flickering, but queried no more. She'd navigated this realm long enough. Survived assassinations and betrayals to grasp some inquiries. Shunned before strangers, lest they invite danger, she assented with a nod and moved aside, her grace undiminished. Enter the lad. Seems chilled to the bone, frozen. By more than weather within the villa, warmth and stillness reigned a stark contrast. To the outer turmoil, gleaming granite floors mirrored the shimmer of pendant lights, suspended above like stars. Captured Lucas hunched in the vestibule, a small figure dwarfed by opulence water dripping from his damp garb. Onto the stone like tears of intrusion, he shrank, attempting minimal impact, as if fearing to mar the perfection, as if his very presence might taint this world of power. Maria observed him, her stare mellowing faintly, a mother's instinct stirring Sophia. She summoned her voice. Carrying authority, a 40s woman in staff attire emerged. From the passage, efficient and silent, draw a bath steaming and fresh attire for this boy. No expense spared, then warm sustenance, something hearty to chase the cold. Yes, madam, Sophia replied with a curt nod. Lucas glanced at Victor, hesitant eyes wide with uncertainty. Accompany Sophia. Victor directed his tone firm, yet kind, cleansing repose. We'll discuss later when shadows lift. The boy nodded and trailed the attendant quietly, his steps tentative on the grand stairs. Once Lucas vanished up the curving staircase, swallowed by the upper halls. Maria faced her son, her eyes narrowing. She spotted the charred wallet in his grasp, clutched like a relic, and her eyes locked freezing in recognition. What do you hold, son? That ghost from the past. Victor extended it wordlessly. Maria accepted with quivering digits, her hands steadying as she unfolded it, tracing the singed edges with reverence, the faded L like a scar on her heart. Then recognition hit like a lightning bolt, her complexion blanched. Draining of color, this as she voiced her timbre, faltering, breaking on the edges. I gifted this to Lorenzo the day he joined us as my son-in-law, a symbol of acceptance. I said it was Russo. Custom, every spouse gets a wallet monogrammed with their initial A thread in our tapestry. Victor affirmed I recall every detail. Ma Lorenzo always carried it in his jacket pocket, close to his heart. I queried once why not secure it in a vault. He said it first made him feel truly part of something bigger. Maria eyed her son, tears tracing her wrinkled face, silent rivers of grief and hope. Whence this artifact from the grave, the boy discovered it, that fateful night when Lorenzo vanished into the flames mocked. I believe my husband lives the words. A thunderclap in the quiet hall, Maria pressed a hand to her lips, stifling a gasp. She lingered long, her frame quaking, as she stifled a weep that threatened to unleash a flood. Then inhaled deeply a warrior's breath and raised her chin defiantly, her eyes, devoid of tears but kindled with a known blaze, fierce and unyielding, the blaze of a mother who had buried a husband slain, in cold blood of a widow who'd reared her son solo to command a domain built on blood and loyalty, who'd outlasted every feud in this underbelly, emerging scarred but unbroken. Then fetch him home, she declared, her tone rigid as iron forged in fire. Even if you raise this whole city to smoldering ruins, even if the skies weep, blood, bring him back. Victor matched his mother's stare, blue eyes mirroring her fire, and nodded a silent bow. Meanwhile, above, in the opulent guest suite, Lucas immersed in a tub, brimming with steaming water bubbles scented with lavender, he couldn't recall. The last such luxury, such enveloping warmth that seeped into his bones, perhaps with Dad alive. Those distant memories now faded like old photographs. Vapor ascended in lazy spirals, clouding the broad gilded mirror on the wall. He gazed at his palms, roughened skin from 4 brutal street years, calluses like armor, easing, softening in the heat, a rare vulnerability. Sophia left fresh garb on the marble rack. Cozy flannel pajamas, soft as clouds, likely oversized for his slight frame, but pristine, dry, and warm, a luxury. He scarcely believed sufficed more than enough for a boy who'd slept on concrete post-bath. Lucas guided to the dining hall, a cavernous space with oak panels carved with intricate designs and marble tops gleaming under chandelier light. Sophia set before him steaming beef stew, rich with aromas of herbs and meat, crusty bread, warm from the oven, slathered in butter and hot cocoa, topped with whipped cream, a childhood dream reborn. Lucas eyed the meal, dreamlike a mirage in the desert of his life. He consumed measured, slow, wary of haste, as if the food might vanish, wary of betraying, that this was his first proper feed in months. Perhaps longer. From the doorway, Maria observed unseen. She noted his manner, the spoon grip, cautious, precise, as if theft imminent, as if at any moment it could be snatched away, eyes scanning the room with vigilant reflexes, honed by survival like a feral beast habituated to peril, always ready to bolt, and within her something yielded a crack in her armored heart. This boy, this resilient survivor, had restored faith to her son, ignited a spark in the darkness. Whatever ensued the battles to come, she'd not abandoned him anew. He'd found a place in this fractured family. 4 a.m. The witching hour, Victor descended to the villa's cellar steps, echoing like judgments. This wasn't mere storage or leisure lounge as in affluent abodes of the naive. This was the Russo domain's core, a war room pulsing with power, the chamber immense, its brick walls a meter thick, impenetrable fortresses insulated against prying ears, rigged with tech surpassing some spy outfits, cutting-edge servers humming like hearts. And at that array's hub sat Alex Rivera, the lanky coder with shaved head eyes glued to screens typed furiously, a digital Storm 5, displays illuminating ahead like portals to secrets, his sixth energy drink chilled beside fueling the frenzy. Hearing Victor's steps deliberate and heavy, Alex didn't pivot, his focus unbroken. Perfect timing, boss. The words rushed out. Just unearthed something that changes everything. A bombshell in the data, Victor position. Rear his presence. A shadow eyeing the screens with predatory intensity. Display it now, no delays. Alex dragged footage to the primary screen. Fingers flying blurry color feed from low vantage grainy, yet revealing this from gas station cam on Ashland Avenue. Roughly 300 yards from the mill, a vantage point overlooked night of April 21st. Last year, the date that haunts 3:15 a.m., the timestamp a marker of fate video, rolled vacant intersection misted, shrouded in ethereal fog. Then gray, SUV frame emerging from shadows, crawling slow, deliberate, no emblem to betray, obscured plates, blurred by design, mundane gray SUV blending like camouflage in Chicago's steel jungle, but Alex froze the frame and magnified with precision. See here the SUV's side panel ajar, just a crack in the armor. In that crevice, a figure visible struggling against bonds, dark cropped hair, pale toned skin, marked by soot and blood. Victor neared brows knit in fury, a storm brewing, sharpened further the quality poor, but we need clarity. But processed via upscale program, my custom algorithm Alex keyed command. Swift image clarified marginally, still fuzzy, like a half-remembered dream, but sufficient to discern the man's profile. Angular and familiar mouth agape in a silent scream of defiance. Shoulder with bold marked the tattoo, a beacon, Lorenzo Victor murmured. Rough with emotion. Yes, that's him. My heart, my fighter. Alex agreed, I concur beyond doubt. Moore watched the layers peel, video resumed. SUV vanished into the mist. Moments later, white van trailed same route, a shadow following. Then black pickup, all spaced evenly, like a convoy of death escort formation. Alex switched display with a flourish traced via 30 cams, a web of surveillance traffic store. Private, hacked without mercy, they crossed south side via Dan Ryan into the loop. The heart of the beast. Then, lost in downtown, swallowed by the urban maw. Lost how Victor's voice a whip entered garage on Wabash. No internal cams, a black hole, no exit record for those vehicles. Ghosts in the machine, Victor silent. Instant mind, racing switched rides there, a pivot in the plan. Alex nodded, precise. No random snatch boss. This was orchestrated, planned with military assets. Veil of professionalism. 3 vehicles, 10 plus people, a small army path dodging cams, like a Ghost Dance Pro Ops corporate or intel. Uncertain yet, but this, a clue that burns. Alex summoned another image with dramatic pause feed from diner cam. Near garage grainy but gold-captured woman exiting white van. Tall commanding red hair like flame-scarred face suit, tailored to kill, and her demeanor rigid, unyielding as steel Victor. Fixed on the image, her the scarred phantom boy matched description to the scar Alex affirmed running facial across databases. Legal and illicit black market nets, few hours more. I'll unmask her. Victor pondered mind a whirlwind. I revisited Lorenzo's dossier. The official lie says explosion from gas leak. A convenient cover, body unrecovered. But I breached fire department system, hacked the vault original log before the alteration, the truth buried. Alter who dared original notes debris, but no leak sign. No accident fire set deliberately. Arson with intent holes drilled in pipes. Precise sabotage. Victor froze a statue of rage. Fist balled. Knuckles pale veins bulging. Who tampered the question? A snarl tracing. Now peeling the onion leads to IP of private firm. A digital breadcrumb. Vanguard Protection Base in Loop, Chicago. The Nerve Center, Vanguard Protection. Victor echoed as if etching it into his soul a name to hunt. Uncover all on firm, every dirty secret, owners, operators, affiliates, the web of corruption and link that scarred woman, the architect, Alex, typing pre-Victor's finished fingers, a blur answers by afternoon. Boss, the truth will bleed. Victor headed stairs each step, heavy with purpose, paused at the threshold. Alex? Yes. Boss. The word expectant? Solid work. The praise sparse but weighted. Alex' silent but faint grin crossed his face. A rare light. Rarest acclaim from Victor Russo, and it signaled peril. Imminent, very peril, the dawn of war. 1 p.m. next day, the sun high, but casting long shadows. Victor in his office, a sanctum of power, when Alex rang urgent, located her boss, the voice electric descend to cellar. Now Victor arrived cellar under 3 minutes, heart pounding, Alex prepped on largest display. A revelation. Waiting coder appeared sleepless, a ghost of exhaustion. Eyes rimmed, red hair, disheveled like a mad scientist, but tone crisp, chilling a scalpel's edge. Elena Voss, Alex stated, indicating screen image, with triumph woman, mid-50s, sharp traits like a hawk's beak, neatly bobbed, red hair, scarred cheek, a badge of battles. Cold green eyes devoid of mercy, this from corporate file, but deeper from shadows, former CIA operative, a ghost. In the machine served 18 years of a career of shadows, led covert ops in Eastern Europe and Middle East theaters of blood. Victor stared, image the face aligned, Lucas's account and diner footage. Exactly. The scarred enigma, the scar acquired in knife fight in Berlin. 2005, a close call replaced with cosmetic, but visible a reminder of mortality provided by agency. But here's the interesting part, the twist. Alex displayed. Docs a cascade of classified Voss dismissed from CIA. 2010. Official medical retirement, a smokescreen, but unearthed sealed memo. Buried deep probed for alleged prisoner mistreatment. Torture in black sites and selling intel to core. The betrayal for profit case buried implicated top brass. The untouchables. Voss quietly retired. No trial swept under rugs post that. The Phoenix Rise founded Vanguard Protection 2011, a new empire surface private security guarding firms. VIPs, a legitimate facade but deeper subsidiaries. Shells offshores, a labyrinth. Vanguard facade below. Voss runs Black Ops, the Dark Heart. What type? The question heavy. Alex hesitated, selecting terms with care. Organ harvesting boss. The horror unveiled primarily. Organs, tissues. A market of flesh target those unnoticed, missing the invisible transients. Refugees, orphans, the forgotten, but lately escalated to high-value subjects. The premium rare genetics, superior organ viability. The elite prey, cancer survivors, the resilient. Victor iced a chill-down spine. Lorenzo diagnosed pancreatic cancer early. A battle won. Completed treatment 3 years pre-vanished, the Victory docs noted. Remarkable organ resilience. A medical miracle targeted my husband. Because he survived, cancer defied death. Alex nodded slow, affirmed no random research marks like predators, insiders in health. Net supply data, a betrayal of trust. Victor, immobile jaw-locked muscles bulging like cords. Then, memory surge 4 years prior. A night of reckoning, Chicago Harbor. October Eve, cold as death. Marco tipped suspicious shipment through Russo turf, a violation. Victor inspected personally, the air thick with salt, and suspicion breaking seal inside 19 men. Bound, silenced, crated like livestock. Some asphyxiated faces, blue eternal sleep. Survivors gazed, vacant souls departed eons ago, hollow shells. Victor, no saint he admitted slain, trafficked ruined foes in wars of power. But boundaries, even fiends respected lines not crossed that night. Ordered rescue, relocated safe, then torched the load. 30 million turned to Inferno, a message in flames uncared, who backed no pursuit. Then, message any organ trade via Russo zone paid dearly. In fire and blood now grasped the connection. The vendetta Alex, that shipment 4 years tied to Voss. The link Alex keyed file belonged transport linked. Vanguard, sub the proof, you didn't just burn Voss's cargo boss. You torched her future cost contracts with Asian buyers. The big leaks losses over 30 million goods. 70 million futures of fortune lost. Voss monitored you since a shadow waiting knows. You knows Lorenzo intimately waited. Opportune, the perfect strike when Lorenzo visited that fiery night. Light guard, a vulnerability struck like lightning. Victor, wordless, a storm within, staring Elena Voss's face. On screen, a target locked 4 years. Voss bided 4 years vengeance patient as death. Not at Victor the head, but at Lorenzo the heart. Victor's soul, deeper love, the ultimate wound where she undetermined precise. But Vanguard HQ Loop, Chicago, 35th floor Michigan Tower, the lair tonight. Victor stated tone eerily serene, a calm before apocalypse we visit and bring hell with us. Midnight, Michigan Tower soared over Loop, a monolith of glass and steel mirroring city neon. A kaleidoscope of sin. 35th floor, dark as a grave per Alex Hack. Vanguard staff exited 6 p.m., a ghost town night guard, 6-3 lobby, 3 floors patrolling like hounds. System cutting edge, a digital fortress, but vulnerable. Nothing impervious to Alex Rivera, the breaker Victor in SUV 2 blocks distant, cloaked in shadow. Earpiece snug monitoring laptop command center. Marco headed 5-man squad. Elite shadows black-clad. Masked, ghosting rear entry, silent as death. Alex in bunker voice via earpiece, calm command. Lobby cams looped a digital illusion. 8 minutes till patrol cycle. The window closes, freight lift, primed ready for ascent. A firm Marco brief a whisper in night squad. Swift like predators via service hall, dim and echoing into freight lift, a metal cage, doors shut. Cabin ascended, slow tension. Building 35 in quiet, a tomb. Doors parted, long corridor, beige carpet, muffling steps. Frosted doors, Vanguard logo, line over shield, a symbol of false protection. Alex main access unlocking now, the voice of godlike lock clicked green of victory small. Marco shoved, squad surged like a wave. Vanguard space, broad contemporary, sterile desks. Orderly screens off dormant, deserted, empty as Voss's soul. But Marco bypassed the facade of straight rear, the heart steel, seamless door, a vault archive, the treasure trove. Alex door needs biometrics print iris. The challenge 20 seconds, the clock ticks. Marco awaited, weapon ready, eyes scanning gloom, every shadow a potential threat. 20 felt eternal heartbeats echoing, steel slid open with a hiss like a serpent. Awakening inside compact room walls. Lined cabinets, metal sentinels. Server corner humming with secrets. Marco posted 2 at door guards vigilant. He and others searched frantic yet methodical first cabinet files. Hundreds, a catalog of horrors photos. Data coded like inventory. Marco extracted 1 young man. 20s Asian features, desperate eyes below text. Cold specimen, 084 organ type liver status harvested, last site lab epsilon alive. Reduced to parts. Marco flipped another teen boy. Innocent face specimen, 102, Status donated buyer client Delta. Sold like commodity, bile rose. Throat burning, this wasn't. Trade industrialized abduction sale, like products in a factory of death. Numbered class, valued priced for the highest bidder. Alex need server link the digital vein plugging. Now Marco inserted USB server port a bridge. Seconds. Alex connected. Voice odd data immense. A ocean of sand, thousands records downloading. Now the floodgates open locate Lorenzo Marco Tens, voice tight with urgency. Lorenzo Russo, the name of prayer silence, brief, heavy, Alex inhaled sharp. A gasp. Found specimen 139, Lorenzo Russo, 28 organ type AB, positive history, pancreatic cancer remission, high viability status experimental site, Lab Zeta, the confirmation. Victor heard all via earpiece breath, held tone, slow frigid Lab Zeta, where the demand searching encrypted layers, amaze time the response download, all Victor commanded decrypt. Post the order absolute, Marco yanked. USB free, a snap siren wailed. Gloom piercing the night, red lights flashed, alarm of discovery. Backup triggered, the trap sprung, Alex yelled earpiece. Panic rising, detected. Breach guards ascending lifts. Swarm, incoming use emergency stairs, now escape or die. Marco squad burst archive, frantic raced office halls, echoing bashed emergency exit. A crashed charged stairwell concrete shaft. Steps pounding, echoed yells pursuit. Boots, thundering 15 floors descent. Hell, 10-5, heart-pounding, lungs burning shot. Echoed ricochet, Marco, pain, seared right arm fire. Lancing stumbled, knee buckled but persisted. Rose, blood-soaked black fabric, warm and sticky. Marco hit. Squadmate yelled alarm press on. Marco bellowed, voice roar, ignore me, fight through 3 floors. One ground the end near smashed door, spilled loading bay, dark and damp. Backup SUV engine revved, a beast, ready boarded. Tore off doors ajar tires, screeching behind siren persisted Chicago night. Alive with chaos, but USB held thousands files. One name Lab Zeta, the key to salvation or damnation. 5 a.m. Russo Manor, dim a house of ghosts. Save cellar glow, a beacon of truth. Marco armed treated by family, medic and den. Grim and focused bullet, extracted missed vital by millimeters, a miracle. But weak rest the wound deep. Victor not with Marco, his rock below, with Alex, eyes on screens burning. Alex decrypted bulk. USB data, a Herculean task. Thousands files. Screens a mosaic of atrocity, each pilfered, life, human commodified, stripped of dignity. But Victor cared about only one file. The heart here, it is Alex's low voice grave. Lorenzo's complete file. The unvarnished horror boss. I think you should sit. Brace yourself. Victor stood rigid, unyielding grip on Alex's chair. White-knuckled eyes scanning every line on the screen. Devouring the truth specimen. 139. Lorenzo Russo. Birth on there. Thorn, 28. Organ. Type AB positive medical history. Pancreatic cancer fully in remission after remission. Treatment exceptional viability value. Premium intake date. April 22nd. Then, the next line struck Victor like a hammer blow. Anvil to soul special note. Subject was discovered to be 10 weeks pregnant at the time of intake. Pregnancy was terminated on May 1st to optimize the organ harvesting process. Stem cells extracted for maximum yield. Victor couldn't breathe the air. Thick poison, the world around him stopped moving. Frozen in agony, sound vanished. A vacuum light dimmed to gray. Only those words remained burning into his mind, like brands on flesh wounds that would never heal eternal scars. Pregnant, Lorenzo had been pregnant when snatched 10 weeks. His child, their future unknown child. Pregnancy terminated, they had killed his child. Murdered innocents to harvest stem cells, a commodity in their twisted market boss. Alex called out, voice tight with worry, concern. Boss, are you all right? The words distant, Victor didn't answer, couldn't. The storm raged internal, he turned and walked. He, toward the corner of the room, steps heavy as if wading through blood. then stopped in front of the brick wall, unyielding as his resolve. And he plunged fist, slammed into the wall with all the force of his shattered soul. Skin split open, blood splattered across the gray surface, like abstract art of pain. But Victor didn't feel the pain, numb to it, all punched again and again and again. Each blow came with a guttural sound torn from deep in his throat. The sound of a wounded animal, primal rage of man shattering from the inside out. Crumbling under weight, Alex stood up but didn't dare come closer. Frozen in awe and fear, he had never seen Victor like this. The syndicate leader who was always cold as Arctic wind, always controlled, a master of emotions, always the steel wall. Nothing could penetrate, unbreakable. But now that wall was collapsing, crumbling to dust, in the face of unimaginable loss. Victor finally stopped breath, ragged forehead pressed to the wall, cool against fevered skin, both. Hands hanging at his sides, slick with blood dripping to the floor. His shoulders shook, not from cold, but from sobs being forced back. Struggling to escape a dam breaking, he didn't know. Victor whispered, his voice breaking apart, splintering. He knew, and he didn't tell me the secret kept Lorenzo. He was carrying my child, our legacy, then the memories came rushing back. A floodgate burst the final weeks before Lorenzo disappeared into flames. He had been more fatigued than usual, shadows under eyes. He had skipped beer at dinners. Hand lingering on abdomen, he had rested his hand on his stomach when he thought no one was watching. A subconscious protection Victor hadn't noticed. Blinded by empire demands, with wars in the underbelly, endless with enemies that needed to be destroyed, crushed under heel. He hadn't seen the most important thing. The miracle right in front of him. He was going to tell me. Victor went on, sounding as if he were speaking to himself, a monologue of grief he was waiting. For the right moment, perhaps our anniversary, a surprise wrapped in joy. Perhaps my birthday. He loved surprises like that. The light in his eyes when he unveiled them, he lifted his head slowly and looked at the smear of his own blood on the wall. A canvas of rage, and they took that from him. Stole the moment, the life they took my child from him. Ripped from the womb, Alex swallowed hard throat. Dry, boss. I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. Words fail in face of this. Victor slowly turned around. Movements deliberate. His face was wet tears carving paths through grime. But the blue in his eyes was no longer pain. Drowning it burned with a fire Alex had never seen before, colder than ice, hotter than hell's forge, the fire of a man with nothing left to lose, a void filled with vengeance find lab. Zeta, Victor said, his voice terrifyingly calm. A calm that promised storms find it for me right now. Unearth the depths and prepare the largest force we have. Assemble the army. I'm not just coming to save my husband or rescue. I'm coming to burn everything down, raze to ashes, leave no stone, no soul. 3 days later, the clock ticked relentless. Alex had worked without rest. A machine of determination to decode the coordinates of Lab Zeta, the hidden hell in the end. He found it cracked the code, an underground bunker buried deep in Adirondacks Forest, upstate New York. A wilderness grave about a 4-hour drive north of the city through twisting roads on the map. The location was registered as a bioresearch center, innocuous, owned by a phantom pharma company, a ghost entity satellite. Images showed small cluster of buildings in the woods, seemingly harmless cabins. But Alex discovered the power consumption there matched that of a mid-sized hospital. A lie revealed something far larger was hidden beneath the ground. A labyrinth of horrors. Victor mobilized 30 men, the most loyal warriors of the Russo family. Battle-tested, all equipped with body armor, rifles, night vision goggles, tools. Of where Marco was still weak-arm bandaged, but insisted on going along a brother's bond. Victor didn't object. He understood that there were battles a man had to be present for, regardless of the wounds he carried. Physical or soul deep, the convoy left Lake Shore at midnight under cover of moonless sky, 4 black vans and 1 armored truck. Armored beasts moved through the darkness without headlights, relying only on night vision equipment. and GPS shadows on wheels. They reached the wood's edge at 2 a.m., the forest alive with nocturnal whispers, thence on foot, boots sinking in mud. The Adirondacks in March were still bitterly cold. A frozen hell, melting snow turned the ground beneath their boots into thick mud. Sucking at every step, the team advanced in absolute silence, broken only by labored breathing and snapping branches underfoot. 30 minutes later, they saw the target, a clearing in the woods. Moonlight filtering a small compound sat there. 2 guards patrolled outside, rifles slung. Over shoulders bored expressions of men who believed no one knew. This place existed, their arrogance fatal, they were wrong horribly. So Victor signaled 3 silent shots. Whistled, the guards dropped without a sound. Throats cut by bullets, the team entered the building. Hearts pounding, and found the entrance to the underground level, concealed behind a generator, shut a false wall. Concrete staircase descended deep into the earth, spiraling like a descent to Hades. The air changed with every step, down, colder, damper, heavier with dread. And there was a smell, antiseptic sharp, mixed with something else rotten. The smell of fear, sweat and urine, the smell of despair, broken spirits, the smell of death, lingering like a shroud. The stairs ended at a heavy titanium door, a barrier. Alex had provided the access code hacked from Vanguard's data, a key to hell. Victor entered it, fingers steady. The door slid open with a hydraulic sigh. What lay beyond made even the hardest men stop breathing, gasping. Horror, a long corridor stretched ahead, endless, lined on both sides with glass-walled cells. Prisons of transparency. Inside each cell was a hospital bed, stark white, and on each bed lay a human being, or what was left. They were motionless, eyes closed, or staring vacant bodies connected to dozens of tubes and machines. Lifelines or chains. There were men, there were women, there were even children, no older than 13. Innocent. Stolen, all were so emaciated that their ribs pressed visibly against thin skin, skeletons and flesh. All had shaved heads, as if they had endured chemotherapy countless times. Ravaged, some cells were empty, not because no one belonged there, but because the person inside had died. Expired like goods past date and been taken away. Disposed dried blood, still stained the mattresses. Crimson accusations. My God! One of Victor's men whispered, voice trembling, breaking the code of silence. What is this place? The abyss, purgatory, Marco answered hoarsely, throat tight. This is purgatory, the living dead. Victor walked down the corridor steps, measured eyes scanning every cell, every face he was looking for. Lorenzo, his heart's beat. He was afraid to find him broken, and he was afraid not to find him gone forever. Both fears were crushing him from the inside, a vice of emotion. They moved into another section, deeper, darker, where the cells were replaced by larger glass chambers, arenas of suffering inside. Each chamber was a man standing or sitting or curled, fetal eyes wide open and staring into nothingness. Voids. They wore thin hospital scrubs, threadbare, no shoes, no socks, bare feet on cold floor. Some were crying silently, tears endless. Some muttered meaningless words. Madness babble. Some simply stood there like breathing corpses, animated but soulless. An electronic panel outside. Each chamber displayed information, cold data, specimen 085, phase 4, kidney harvest, complete viability, low specimen 107, phase 3, lung biopsy pending extraction, specimen 142, phase 5, heart transplant awaiting client. The endgame nausea surged up Victor's throat, burning acid. They were farming these people like livestock. Bred for slaughter, harvesting them piece by piece, organ by organ, until there was nothing left to take. Only husks, discarded suddenly. Alex spoke through the earpiece voice, urgent, laced with panic. Boss, I've just accessed the internal system of the facility, breached the core. Lorenzo is in Sector E Cell 15. End of the right corridor, the map to Hope. Hurry signals show movement. Heading toward your position. A tide of enemies. Victor didn't need to hear more. The words fuel. He sprinted down the right corridor, leaving the team behind a lone wolf. Marco shouted after him, "Boss, wait." The team, but he didn't stop undeterred. His legs carried him faster than he had ever run, muscles burning his heart, hammered as if it would burst from his chest. Explode in fury. Cell 13, the number blurred. Cell 14, closer, cell 15. He stopped in. Front of the glass wall abrupt, and the world stopped turning. Time froze in agony. Lorenzo was there, lying on a stark white hospital bed, a prisoner so thin he almost didn't recognize him. A shadow of the man, his black hair had been shaved away, leaving only a fine layer of stubble on his scalp like frost. His arms were connected to 4 different IV lines, lifelines of poison. His eyes were closed, peaceful, yet tormented. But his chest was still rising and falling shallow breaths. Life clinging, he was alive against all odds. Victor stood before the glass wall, his entire body frozen in place. Locked 12 months. 365 days of torment. 8,760 hours of hell he had lived inside his own private inferno, believing Lorenzo deadash. Believing he would never see that face again, the face that haunted dreams, and now he was here right in front of him. Alive, breathing, he found the control panel beside the door fingers. Fumbling, pressed the release. With a beep, the glass slid aside with a soft hiss, inviting the smell of disinfectant and sickness rushed at him. A wave of reality. Victor stepped inside. Each step, slow, deliberate, as if moving too fast, might cause him to vanish like a dream shattered upon waking. He stood beside the bed and looked down at Lorenzo. His love, he was so thin that his cheekbones stood out sharply like blades. The lips that had once been full and inviting pink were now cracked and pale, lifeless. The skin that had once been smooth like marble, warm was gray, and mottled with bruises and needle marks. A map of torture, his right arm lay outside the blanket, exposed, and Victor saw the familiar scar running from shoulder to wrist. A river of pain, the eagle tattoo covering it faded for months without light. Starved, he dropped to his knees beside the bed, the concrete hard but unnoticed, and lifted a hand to Lorenzo's cheek. Trembling touch, his skin was cold, clammy, but there was breath warm, faint, there. Heartbeat steady under fingers. There was life pulsing Lorenzo. He whispered, his voice breaking, cracking my heart, my everything. It's me, I'm here. I've come for you. There was no response. He remained still, eyelids sealed like tombs. Victor took his hand, small and fragile, cold, the hand that had once worn his ring, now gone stripped, lifted it to his lips and kissed it. Reverent, tears falling, Lorenzo. He whispered again, his voice trembling with raw emotion. Please, open your eyes, look at me, see that I'm real. And then, like a miracle from the gods, his eyelids fluttered slowly, painfully, slowly a struggle. His blue eyes opened. The eyes Victor had looked into 1,000 times and never tired of depths of ocean. The eyes he thought he would never see again, lost forever. At first his gaze was unfocused, foggy, staring through Victor into nothing. The void. Then gradually awareness returned, a spark igniting his eyes fixed on Victor's face. Locked, and Victor saw the exact moment recognition dawned. The light breaking his lips moved faint, barely a whisper. Victor leaned closer, ear to mouth. Victor here, tears streaming down his face without any attempt to stop them. Rivers, I came to take you home out of this hell. Tears spilled from the corners of Lorenzo's eyes, sliding into his hair and soaking the pillow-silent grief. He tried to say something more, but his voice was too weak a rasp. Victor leaned closer, straining. I knew you would come, he whispered, faint but clear. I never stopped believing, even in the darkest hours. Victor couldn't hold back anymore. The dam broke. He bent down and pressed his lips to Lorenzo's forehead, lingering tender, staying there for a long moment. Time suspended, he felt his shallow breath against his neck. Warm life, felt his tears seep into his skin, mingling 12 months of loneliness, isolation, 12 months of pain, unrelenting 12 months of hell, unimaginable, All of it ended in this moment, a reunion forged in fire. Forgive me, Victor whispered, his lips still against skin. Warm, I should have protected you. My vow broken. I should have found you sooner. Searched harder. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The words inadequate. Lorenzo lifted a weak hand, trembling, and touched Victor's cheek. Gentle, he didn't speak. Voice too frail, but he didn't need to. His eyes said everything. There was nothing to forgive. The past was ash. He had come. That was all that mattered. The present, the future. Suddenly alarms tore through the fragile peace. A blare of warning red lights flashed along the corridor, strobing like blood. Marco's voice came through, the earpiece tense and urgent. Crackling, boss, they know we're here. Voss's men are flooding in. From the main and secondary entrances, a swarm, at least 40 of them, heavily armed, were surrounded. The noose tightened. Victor lifted his head, the familiar cold returning to his blue eyes steel. He gently placed Lorenzo's hand back on the bed. Careful stood, tall resolve. Hardening. Hold your position, he said into the earpiece. Voice command, I'm taking him out now. The priority, boss. You can't. It's suicide. Marco started to protest. Voice cracking. That's an order. Victor cut in sharp. Then he turned back to Lorenzo. He was watching him, fear in his eyes wide, though his body was too weak to move, paralyzed. I'm getting you out of here. Victor said, his voice absolute, unbreakable. Even if I have to kill every last one of them, tear through hell. He slid one arm beneath Lorenzo's back, supportive the other, beneath his knees lifting. He was terrifyingly light, as if his body were little more than skin over bone. A ghost, Lorenzo wrapped his arms around Victor's neck. Weak grip, head resting against his chest. Heart to heart, I trust you, he whispered, faint but fervent. Victor held his husband close, protective, and stepped out of the room into the storm at the end of the corridor. Gunfire began to erupt. A symphony of death. Gunfire roared through the underground corridors like a relentless storm with no escape thunder of bullets. Victor held Lorenzo tight in his arms, shielding with body back pressed to the wall. Moving fast, calculated to the team. Marco and 8 others had formed a defensive wall at a corridor junction. A bastion, rifles spitting fire bursts at the dark shapes, pouring in from the main entrance waves of enemy. Boss, the main exit is blocked, Marco shouted over the gunfire, voice strained. They outnumber us, 3-1 odds against, but we fight. Alex, is there another way? Victor roared into the earpiece, desperate. Alex's voice came back tense but focused, a lifeline. There's a vent system running beneath the facility, industrial drainage. The entry is at the end of Hall D through a grate labeled utility. A hidden path, it leads to a river about 1,000 yards west. Escape to surface copy, that everyone fall back to. Hall D, Victor ordered, voice thunder. Marco, cover the rear hold, the line. The team began to move. In a controlled retreat, discipline one by one, pulling back toward the corridor, leading to Section D while maintaining suppressive fire, a dance of death. Victor ran at the front, Lorenzo still in his arms, precious cargo, his head resting against Victor's chest, eyes closed, trusting they rounded a corner sharp, and Victor stopped short. Abrupt, blocking the path to Hall D stood Luca Moretti, the lieutenant in charge of Northside, trusted for a decade. He was holding a gun steady, but it wasn't aimed at the enemy incoming. It was aimed at Victor, betrayal incarnate. Luca, Victor said, his voice ice cold, a glacier. What the hell are you doing? The question, a blade. Luca smiled the same smile. Victor had trusted for 10 years. Now twisted in treachery. Sorry, boss. But boss pays better, 6 million, a fortune enough for me to disappear and start a new life somewhere. No one knows my sins. A clean slate. Victor felt his blood boil a cauldron, but his voice remained terrifyingly calm. The eye of storm. You sold my husband to Voss. The accusation you gave him his schedule that night, the leak just when he'd be out in the blaze guard, then the vulnerability. Luca shrugged, casual. The rest was theirs. The execution. Don't blame me, boss, if anyone's to blame. It's you for trusting people too much, blind faith. Lorenzo stirred in Victor's arms, weak, but aware. He had heard everything. The betrayal, Victor felt his body tremble. whether from fear or rage, a mix he didn't know. Marco and the others caught up, stopping behind Victor. They saw Luca and understood instantly. The traitor rifles came up, aimed at the traitor, a firing squad. Ready, don't do anything stupid. Luca said with a thin smile, mocking I didn't come alone, the threat from behind him. 7 of Voss's men stepped forward, shadows materializing. Guns leveled at Victor's team a standoff. They were caught in a crossfire. Deadly. Luca tilted his head smug. Hand him over. Boss Voss wants him alive for more harvest, the prize. As for you, you can die fast or die slow. Agonizing, your choice, the ultimatum. Victor stared at Luca, his blue eyes unblinking, piercing. You know what I hate most? Luca, the question rhetorical, what's that? The reply, smug traitors, the word venom. Victor turned sideways, swift shielding Lorenzo with his body. A human barrier at the same moment, Marco and the team opened fire. A barrage, the corridor turned into hell in an instant chaos. Unleashed bullets flew like rainstorm of lead, screams echoed. Piercing blood splashed against the walls, crimson art in the chaos. Victor set Lorenzo down behind a toppled medical cart cover, then charged Luca. The traitor fired a shot desperate, the bullet grazing Victor's arm, tearing fabric and carving a line of blood fire across skin. But Victor didn't stop pain fuel. He slammed into Luca full force, knocking the gun from his hand, clattering, and they crashed to the floor together. Tangle of limbs they grappled amid the deafening gunfire. Grunts and curses, Luca tried to reach for a knife, hidden, desperate. But Victor was faster, stronger. He pinned him down, knees on chest, both hands clamping around the traitor's throat. Vice, you took my husband. Victor roared, his voice like a wounded animal, primal. You took my child, the unborn. You took 12 months of his life. The litany, Luca's eyes bulged, face turning purple from lack of air, gasping. He clawed at Victor's arms nails, raking punch thrashed like a fish on hook. Victor didn't let go, unyielding. He tightened his grip tighter, relentless, until Luca's body stopped fighting. Slack until his eyes went empty. Void until the traitor was nothing but a corpse broken. Victor stood breathing hard, chest heaving around him. The fight was over, silence settling, and 7 of Voss's men lay motionless on the floor, riddled. His team had lost 3 men, fallen brothers, 3 others wounded, bleeding, but they could still move fight on Voss. We have to go, Marco shouted, urgent. More are coming, the reinforcements. Victor went back for Lorenzo Swift. He was staring at Luca's body face, unreadable mask. Then she looked up at Victor. Then she looked and gave a small nod. Understanding no words were needed, she understood in this world betrayal had only one price. Death. They ran toward the end of the corridor, feet pounding, and found the grate labeled utility, the escape. Marco pried it open with a crowbar, metal screeching rush of damp air poured out. Musty below was a concrete duct. Narrow water flowing slow, dark, the industrial drainage system, a sewer to freedom. They jumped down one by one, splash. The water was freezing, icy, rising to their knees. Numbing, Victor held Lorenzo higher to keep him dry. Above the filth, they moved forward into the darkness, blind. Guided only by flashlight beams dancing behind them, the shouts and gunfire faded echoes 1,000 yards through an underground hell, claustrophobic. But at the end of the tunnel, moonlight was waiting. A silver promise, they emerged from the duct. Just as dawn began to break light, piercing a narrow river, cut through the forest water, murmuring its clear water, reflecting the soft blue-purple light of the rising sun, a new beginning. The extraction team was already waiting vigilant with med van and 2 vans ready. Lorenzo was placed on a stretcher, careful, and taken into the med van. Immediate, the Russo family's private medic began, examining his condition, probing while the convoy sped toward a safe bunker in Vermont. Through winding roads, Victor sat beside his husband in the van, holding his hand tightly, grip like life, never taking his eyes off his pale face for even a second. Vigilant, they reached the safe bunker after 3 hours on the road. Tense and isolated cabin buried deep in maple forest near Canada, border remote, one of many hides the Russo family maintained for emergencies. Shadow's Lorenzo was taken into the master room, fortified where a hospital bed and medical equipment had already been prepared. Ready, the medic administered fluids, antibiotics, vitamins, a cocktail of life, then reported to Victor that he was severely depleted, malnourished but had no permanent internal organ damage. The miracle. He will recover, the doctor said, but it will take time, a lot of time, patience. Victor nodded and sat down in the chair beside the bed. Vigil, he didn't sleep, exhaustion be damned. He didn't eat, hunger, ignored, he simply stayed there, watching over his husband, as if afraid that if he closed his eyes even for a moment, he would disappear again, vanish into smoke. Lorenzo slept for 14 hours deep. When he opened his eyes, dusk had fallen outside the window. The soft blue bedside lamp illuminated his face, highlighting features gaunt, yet painfully beautiful, enduring Victor. He called, his voice still weak, but clearer than before, a thread stronger. "I'm here," Victor said, leaning closer and tightening his grip on his hand. "Anchor, what do you need? Water, food, anything?" Lorenzo shook his head slightly. "No, I need to tell you something about our child." The words, heavy, Victor went rigid. Body tense, he had read the file, the damning words he knew he had. Been pregnant when taken the secret. He knew they had ended, the pregnancy terminated. He had mourned that unborn child in the cellar. The grief, he thought he was prepared for anything. Braced. But what Lorenzo said next shattered everything he believed he knew. The foundation cracked, our child lives. Victor, he stared at him, unsure he had heard correctly. Misheard and hope what the records are. Lies, Lorenzo said, tears beginning to spill down his cheeks. Rivers, they didn't kill our baby, the deception. They took him out when I was 5 months along, extracted. They had technology, an artificial womb, a monstrosity. They grew him outside my body in a machine. He survived. He's a boy. Our son Victor felt as if all the air had been ripped from his lungs, vacuumed. The child he believed dead. The child he had grieved alive, breathing. How do you know? He asked, his voice trembling, shaking, because I heard him cry. Lorenzo sobbed, the sound they wouldn't let me see him denied, but the room wasn't far from mine, close enough the night he was born. I heard his cry, his first cry, piercing the silence. I will never forget that sound. It was the most beautiful and the most painful sound I have ever heard, a symphony of life and loss. His body shook as he struggled to contain his sobs heaving. Then they took him away. I begged them on my knees. I pleaded with every ounce I even offered, my life instead of his, the ultimate sacrifice. But they didn't listen. Cold, they said, he was too valuable a commodity. His genetics were like mine, rare and special. The prize, they said, they had already found a buyer. The sale sealed. Victor stood up, unable to sit any longer. Legs restless, he turned his back to Lorenzo, pacing, fists clenched so tightly his nails cut into his palms. Blood, his body trembled, whether from rage or grief or both. He couldn't tell a cocktail. His son was somewhere out there, alone with strangers, not knowing who his parents were, lost. Do you know who they sold him to? The question forced. I overheard a conversation, Lorenzo said, whispers in the dark. They mentioned a name, Hargrove, a governor. His brother couldn't have children, infertile, and he bought our son as a gift. The twisted generosity. Victor turned back to his husband, eyes blazing with a fire unseen before. Not anger, not hatred, but resolve, pure and absolute, unbreakable. I will find him, he said, his voice firm like a vow etched in stone. Even if I have to tear Sacramento apart brick by brick, even if I have to stand against the entire United States government, the machine, I will bring our son home, no matter the cost. Lorenzo looked at him, tears still falling, but for the first time there was a spark of hope in his eyes. Light, I know, he whispered. I know that's why I survived every day in that hell clinging, because I knew you would come, the faith, and I knew you wouldn't stop. Until our family was whole again, reunited. The days that followed passed slowly in the bunker, cocoon. Lorenzo gradually regained strength, milestones small, and was able to sit up and eat light meals, broths, and fruits. Color began to return to his hollow cheeks, a flush, though he was still pale ghostly. Maria was brought in from Lakeshore undercover, along with Lucas, because the main manor was no longer safe, compromised after the breach at Lab Zeta. The raid boss would certainly know. By now intelligence and retaliation was inevitable. A storm brewing one afternoon as winter sun streamed through the reinforced window. Pale light Lorenzo began to tell Victor about the 12 months he had spent in hell, the recounting he spoke, in a steady voice detached, as if recounting someone else's story. A dissociation, because that was the only way he could say it without breaking apart, shattering. They didn't let me sleep for the first 4 days, he said, eyes fixed on the window. Distant, they wanted to break my will, shatter the spirit. The lights were on 24 hours a day. Blinding, loud screams looped endless, a soundtrack of, torment. They asked me about you, about the Russo Empire, the interrogations about secrets I didn't even know classified. Every time I said I didn't know Defiant, they did something to hurt me. Pain escalating, Victor sat motionless, his hand gripping the edge of the bed till his knuckles turned white bone. He wanted to scream, to destroy everything in reach. Rage. But he knew that what Lorenzo needed now was for him to listen. Absorb, he needed to speak, to release the memories poisoning him from the inside venom when they found out I was pregnant. Everything changed, the shift. They stopped the torture abruptly. They started feeding me properly, vitamins, injections, not because they cared about me, human, but because they cared about what was inside me, the asset. I was just a container for what they wanted. A vessel tear slid down his cheeks, silent. But his voice didn't shake steady 5 months. They let me carry the pregnancy for 5 months growing, and then they took me into surgery. The cold table, I begged them not to do it, voice breaking. I said I'd do anything, submit. But Dr. Hale, that man with the crazed eyes, soulless, just smiled and told me to count backward. From 10, the countdown, I didn't want to count. I fought with every fiber. The anesthesia was too strong, overwhelming, and when I woke up, my body was empty, hollow. Victor wrapped his arms around his husband and pulled him against his chest. Protective, he cried without sound, body trembling in the embrace quake. He said nothing. There were no words for this kind of pain. Abyss, all he could do was hold him tight and let him know he was no longer alone. Anchored after they took our baby, they started harvesting me. The reaping blood, bone, marrow, stem cells, the list endless, every few weeks. They took me back into surgery. The cycle, I don't know how much they took from my body. The toll, I only know that every time I woke up, I was a little weaker, fading. I started to forget the day's blend. Forget what the rain sounded. Like better forget the wind's whisper. There were moments when I even forgot you, the terror. He looked up at him, eyes red and swollen raw. And that was the most terrifying part, the loss. Because you were the only thing keeping me sane. The anchor every night, I repeated your name like a prayer fervent. Victor Russo, Victor Russo. I told myself you would come. The mantra, if I could just survive one more day. Just one more day. Endure, you would find me the faith. Victor kissed his forehead, gentle, his tear-soaked eyelids, his cracked lips tender. I came, he whispered, voice thick, and I'm never letting you go again. A soft knock interrupted the private moment. Fragile, the door opened slightly, and Maria appeared, matriarch, with a thin boy standing beside her. Lucas' blonde hair, messy hand gripping the edge of Maria's sleeve, anchor hazel eyes watching Lorenzo, with a mix of curiosity and worry. Concerned, Lorenzo looked at the boy, puzzled then at Victor, with a questioning gaze. Brow furrowed this. Is Lucas, Victor said soft, the one who found you the catalyst? Lorenzo's eyes widened. Recognition dawning the boy from the cemetery. The harbinger, the boy with the wallet, the relic. The boy who didn't give up when the world refused to believe, persisted. Come here, he said gently, lifting his hand. Invitation, Lucas hesitated for a second. Uncertainty, then stepped away from Maria and approached the bed. Tentative, he stood there, unsure of what to do. Hands fidgeting, Lorenzo reached out and touched his cheek. gentle skin, warm eyes clear, and in them he saw a reflection of himself. 15 years earlier, a child left behind, abandoned a child. No one believed, dismissed a child who survived anyway. Resilient, thank you, he whispered, tears spilling again. River, thank you for not giving up the persistence. Thank you for saving me, the hero. Lucas looked at him, eyes wide, then did something he hadn't done with anyone since his dad died. The vulnerability, he leaned forward and wrapped his arms around. Lorenzo hugged tight. He held him tightly, as if he were the child he had lost. Surrogate Victor watched his husband hold the orphan boy tender, and inside him, amid all the pain and fury and hunger for revenge, the blaze something soft began to grow, like a seed in barren soil, hope for a family rebuilt, for a future reclaimed for what could still be, rebuilt from the ashes, phoenix. 4 days after Lorenzo and Lucas's conversation, the Bond Alex called from his secure hideout voice, so excited it nearly shouted through the phone. Breakthrough, I found him, boss, your son. The revelation, Victor was sitting beside Lorenzo's bed, hand in hand, and at those words, both of them stopped breathing. Breath held, he switched the call to speaker, so Lorenzo could hear the words go on. Alex, the command, I dug deep into Governor Thomas Hargrove's financial records. The dirt, he has a brother named Samuel Hargrove, 45, living in Pacific Heights. San Francisco opulent, married to a tech exec power couple, but couldn't have children due to a medical condition, infertile. They tried adoption thrice. All failed, heartbreak. Then, suddenly last August, they had a newborn baby boy. The anomaly, the birth certificate, lists him as a domestic adoption from Texas legal, but suspect. But when I checked immigration and state records, no child from Texas matched that timeline. The lie, Lorenzo squeezed Victor's hand so hard, nails cut into skin mark, but he didn't feel the pain. Numb, continued. I hacked into the child's medical records, the breech organ type AB positive boss, exactly the same as Lorenzo match. And there's one more detail. The clincher, the baby has a dark birthmark on his left ankle, shaped like a crescent moon. Unique Lorenzo broke down, crying sobs that racked his frame. That birthmark, he said through sobs. I saw it on the ultrasound at 14 weeks. The image, the doctor said, it was harmless, benign. I was going to name him Luna because of that moon shape, the sentiment that is your son Alex. Is your, said firmly. There's no doubt, absolute. They removed him from Lab Zeta 3 weeks after he was born in the artificial womb. The theft, and sold him to the Hargrove family for $2.5 million. The price. I have Samuel Hargrove's home address in Pacific Heights, sent now the coordinates. But boss, there's a problem. The complication, Thomas Hargrove has deep connections in Sacramento. The power, he's the governor. He could have state police at his brother's house within an hour. If you move against her, the shield, I'll handle it, Victor said grim. It's sent, but be careful, the warning. Victor ended the call abrupt and turned to Lorenzo. Eyes locked. He was looking at him with tear-filled eyes blazing with determination. Fire, you'll bring him home, he said. Trust absolute. I trust you. The faith at that moment, an explosion shook the entire bunker. Violent windows, shattered glass rain. Gunfire erupted from every direction, a siege. Marco kicked open the bedroom door, forceful blood running. From a cut on his forehead, Crimson Voss is attacking. Marco shouted over the din, at least 25 men. They've surrounded the bunker, the assault. How did they find us? The question, Alex had a mole in his system. The betrayal, Victor grinned. Realized someone traced his phone signal and backtracked our location. The track, there's no time. Get Lorenzo out of here now. The priority, Victor said. Pulling a gun from beneath the pillow, loaded, what about your mother? And the boy? The family? Marco asked, urgent. I'll get them. You take care of my husband, the division. No, Victor, Lorenzo grabbed his hand. Grip tight, I'm not leaving without you, the refusal, Lorenzo. There's no time to argue. The plea. I'm not leaving, he repeated, tone steel. I lost you once, I won't lose you again. The resolve. Victor looked at him, eyes searching, then gave a curt nod. Acceptance. Marco, take Lorenzo through the back passage to the garage. The escape wait for me. They're 10 minutes. If I'm not there in 10 minutes, you drive away. Don't come back. Don't risk, boss. That's suicide. Marco protests. That's an order. Victor cut sharp. Victor didn't wait for a reply. Action. He raced out of the room toward the west wing corridors. Smoke filled around him. The world was collapsing. Walls cracked under gunfire impacts. Flames began to rise in one corner of the living area. Inferno spreading. His men were fighting and dying on every side. Bullets whizzing. He shot down 3 of Voss's soldiers on the way precise. Without slowing headshots, when he reached Maria's room, the door had already been kicked in. Breached inside, Maria stood in front of Lucas, protective, a handgun in her grip, steady that she had kept hidden under her pillow for decades. A relic of old wars, 3 of Voss's men lay sprawled on the floor, dead eyes open she had once been. The queen of a syndicate knew how to protect herself. Lethal, Victor called, voice cutting through chaos. Let's go, son, Maria said, taking Lucas's hand firm. Don't worry about me. Worry about your husband and my grandchild, the priority they ran through. The burning hallway, dodging bullets, stepping over bodies fallen. Victor led Maria and Lucas close behind a unit when they reached the garage. Smoke thick, Marco was already waiting with Lorenzo in his arms safe. The group rushed down the stairs into the escape passage. Dark above them, the bunker was burning fiercely, flames roaring. They ran through the darkness of the tunnel, guided only by Marco's flashlight beam, flickering 3 minutes, heart pounding, 5 minutes, legs burning 7 minutes, sweat stinging 9. Then they saw light at the end of the tunnel. Hope a truck was waiting, engine roaring ready. They jumped inside and sped off. Into the night tires, screeching through the rear window, Victor watched the safe bunker swallowed by flames. A pyre, another refuge lost to ash. But his family was still here, all of them alive, breathing, and Voss had made a fatal mistake. The underestimation, he had made it personal. Now this was no longer just about saving Lorenzo or finding their child, the quest. Now this was war total, unrelenting, 3 days after the attack on the safe bunker. The Inferno, the Russo family, went into hiding, deep cover in an alley loft, owned by a shell company Phantom that even Alex hadn't known existed until Victor revealed it. The last card, it was the final contingency plan Victor's father had left behind. A legacy, a refuge no one in the organization knew about, except the head. The secret Lorenzo had recovered enough to walk on his own, though he was still weak steps. Tentative, Maria took care of him and Lucas, the matriarch, while Victor prepared his next move, the chessboard. He couldn't attack Samuel Hargrove's home in Pacific Heights directly. The risk doing so would bring the FBI down on him within hours. Federal storm, he needed another approach. Subtle, deadly. He needed to face Thomas Hargrove himself. The source, Alex had uncovered the governor's schedule that night. The intel Hargrove would attend a re-election fundraising gala at the Fairmont, San Francisco. Opulent, $1,000 a plate, the elite Victor bought 12 anonymous. He arrived alone, incognito, wearing a perfectly tailored gray 3-piece suit, blending his hair, combed back expression, calm neutral as a businessman, indistinguishable from the donors and lawmakers mingling. No one recognized that the most feared syndicate leader on the West Coast now was standing among them, a wolf in sheep's clothing. Victor observed Hargrove from a distance for the first-hour patient. The governor was 59, fit for his age, graying with a charming smile glued to his face. False all evening, he shook hands, laughed at every joke, nodded at every compliment. Sycophant, a typical politician, a typical hypocrite, master of masks. When Hargrove slipped away from the crowd toward the VIP lounge, discreet, Victor followed Shadow, the lavish lounge leather, and gold-plated fixtures empty save the 2 Hargroves sipping a scotch. Amber, when he saw Victor in the reflection mirror, he frowned for a second, trying to place the face puzzle. Then recognition struck like lightning. The blood drained from his face. Pale Russo Hargrove, whispered voice trembling. "You know who I am," Victor said, stepping closer. "Slow, good, then we don't need introductions." The efficiency? I've got security right outside, the governor said, trying to steady himself. Bluff. I know 2 men by the bar on the right, but they're not in here. Are they? The observation? Hargrove swallowed hard, throat bobbing. What do you want? The question, my son Victor said flatly. No emotion. Your brother has a child. That child is mine, stolen. He was stolen from my husband and sold illegally. Black market, I want him back, the demand. Hargrove's face paled further, but he quickly masked it composure. I don't know what you're talking about. Denial? My brother's child is a legal domestic, adoption papers. In order, we both know that's a lie. The truth. Victor stepped closer until Lessing stepped, then a meter away. Intimate, you have 2 choices. 1, you convince your brother to return, my son quietly. No police, no courts, no scandal, discreet. You keep your governor's seat. Your brother keeps his reputation, and I get my son back. Win-win, or Hargrove asked. Tense sweat beating, or I destroy everything you have. The threat, your career, your family, your life. I'll drag into the light every dirty deal you made with Elena Voss. The exposure, every bribe you took, every victim you helped her bury the graves, and when you've got nothing left to lose, stripped, I'll take my son another way. Forrest Hargrove stood still for a moment, calculating, then suddenly laughed, a dry, contemptuous sound echoing off the leather walls, mocking you. Think you can threaten me, Hargrove said, confidence returning surge. What are you? An LA thug, a criminal. I'm the governor of California. I've got State Guard F. BIDOJ in my pocket, the power, touch my brother, and I'll have the entire federal machine crush you, pulverize your family, will be prosecuted, your assets seized, you'll die in prison, rotting. Victor didn't move. His face remained calm, as if listening to a weather forecast. Indifferent. You think I'm afraid of prison? Soft. You think I'm afraid of death? The retort, Governor Hargrove. You took my son, the sin. You worked with the woman who tortured my husband for a year. The alliance. There's nothing left you can do to scare me. Broken, Victor leaned in, close, his voice dropping to a whisper and intimate. But you should be afraid of me, the warning, because I don't play by your rules. Fair. I don't need courts to judge justice. I don't need police to enforce law. I am my own law, and I've just declared war on you total. Victor stepped back and adjusted the lapel of his suit. Casual, you have 48 hours to think the ultimatum after that. Everything will spiral out of control for both of us, chaos. He turned and walked toward the door, measured. You'll regret tonight. Russo Hargrove snarled behind him. Venom you've got. No idea who you're dealing with? The threat. Victor paused at the threshold without turning around. Neither do you, Governor, neither do you, the echo then. He walked out, melted back into the crowd, and vanished into the San Francisco night. A ghost. 48 hours past the clock. Merciless, Hargrove didn't make contact. Silence. Victor wasn't surprised. Men like Hargrove always believe they're untouchable gods until their world collapses, empire falls on the third night. After the meeting in San Francisco, the confrontation, Victor launched his assault. Not an attack, but a hurricane devastation. He'd spent the past 2 days mobilizing every resource the Russo family possessed. The arsenal, reaching out to allies in Vegas, Miami, the network, and planning every detail down to the minute precision at 10 p.m. Everything began at once coordinated in LA, a 10-man. A team hit Vanguard's depot in Compton, the strike where Voss stored weapons rides, funds the cash. They wiped out the guards within 6 minutes, silent, efficient, seized $4 million in cash, the haul, and burned the rest to the ground flames. High in Miami, an ally 20-unit assaulted Voss's logistics headquarters. In Beach, the hub victim transport records, trucks, comms. The brain left nothing usable behind. Demolished, the building burned like a massive torch in the night inferno. Visible miles in Vegas, team ally attacked Voss's secret lab. Near Reno, the sister smaller than Zeta, but active, holding 16 captives. The innocent rescued, all moved safe clinic, then destroyed the site explosives. 3 hours, Voss Empire lay in ruins smoldering. But that was only the first phase. The physical, the second, belonged to Alex, the digital. The hacker had been working non-stop since stealing the Vanguard. Data, the heist decrypting everything, organizing into clear files, the dossier, and preparing a package capable of destroying not only Voss, but her entire protection network. The web at 1 a.m., Alex hit, some news, launched thousands of emails went out simultaneously. The flood to LA Times, SF Chronicle, MSNB, CABC BBC, the media, FBI DOJ, every Congress office, the authorities, and every media outlet and law enforcement agency. Alex could think of the contents, thousands of pages, documentation, the evidence, victim lists with names, photos, fates, the catalog transaction records, showing who bought people and for how much, the ledger, evidence of illegal medical experiments footage, security footage from inside the facilities, horrors and most damning proof of Governor Thomas Hargrove's involvement. The nail money from Voss calls to Shield Ops forged adoption. For brother child, the complicity. Pre-dawn America woke to shock the awakening. News spread like wildfire. Viral networks ran same story. The expose massive organ ring exposed governor, implicated in horrors. The scandal, hundreds victims, some dead, others missing ghosts. Social exploded, hashtags justice. Victims Hargrove, Dunn, Vanguard million. Shared, commented, demanded, protests erupted outside. Capitol spontaneous fury. Hargrove tried deny, at hasty conference sweat pouring. Called fake news conspiracy by dark forces, the defense no one believed. Evidence too clear, detailed, undeniable, overwhelming by noon. FBI announced formal investigation, the net by afternoon. Hargrove summoned testify assembly, the reckoning by evening. Brother Samuel placed under child services supervision. The watch while authorities investigated child origins, the probe. Victor watched news from loft to Lorenzo beside hand gripping. They're falling apart, he whispered. Yes, replied. But Voss free son not home. The unfinished Victor's phone vibrated, unknown message. The bait read, you wanted Warhap, but I've still one card. Meet old dock warehouse, LA port tomorrow, midnight alone. Bring what want but want see. Sun live, no police. Voss, the challenge. Victor stared, screen jaw, clenched Voss, cornered, most dangerous, lethal. But Voss mistake biggest revealed, biggest. Location, the fatal midnight L, a port-shrouded smog haze off Pacific. Thick old warehouse pier, end concrete decayed since 70s, ruin windows gone roof, holes, vines choking walls. Strangled, Victor arrived solo, as demanded, but not foolish. Marco 10 man, hidden 300 yards, wait signal the backup. Alex tracked satellite port cams, hacked the eye. Lorenzo backloft, Maria Lucas safe, or thought pushed, corroded, door entered creek. Interior black safe, central light hanging flood. Harsh under light, Elena Vossick's agent. Unlike images thinner, older red hair. Unkempt eyes, madness, lost all scarred face. Light cold, no emotion, but halted, not Voss. What held arm baby boy, 11 months. Blue blanket sleeping, oblivious, hair dark. Lorenzo's, the air, Victor heart skip. Son never seen. Lost enemy hands came. Voss calm, but edge prompt respect. Russian time set down. Victor shake but control, not yet. Voss eye baby smile twisted. Handsome father. Nose stir, way strong sapphires. Fine son. Russo pity. Harmstep Voss raised scarred, handheld pistol cocked. Don't fire, I'll die. Want teeth destroyed, legacy Voss. Smile gone, empire, 10 years. Ash, Hargrove, jailed Dr. Hale. Overdose, nothing, Russo, nothing, pistol, child. Why end, Voss, eyes lock, agent, no defeat, drag. Faux hell, took all sea live, without love. Titan baby cry, thin echo Victor Boyle rush, but couldn't pistol baby mad. Set down if kill me, do let go innocent Voss, laugh, bitter, innocent, none world. Harvested, innocent stopped, no innocence power. Weak hunters hunted sudden voice shadow behind Voss. So you hunter hunted Voss. Turn Victor gaze disbelief. Lorenzo emerged, black hair, sweat, brow rifle. Aimed Voss head, weak tremor arm, blue eyes blaze. Mother fire can't shoot, Voss crack, pistol shoot. Die Lorenzo closer think, fear, death tasted 12 months, took son, body corpse. Die beside son husband, blessing, stopped but lived tonight. Neither lived justice wrought, prison recall faces, set sun down last. Voss eye gun, baby hesitation but forgot. Mother dangerous Lorenzo, fire first shot. Voss cheek flesh, explode pistol drop. Victor lunge, snatch pistol, hurl, pain. No fire Voss, stagger arm clutch, baby instinct hold. Victor tear, baby grasp, safe, wail but safe. Voss concrete, blood pour, laugh mad. Think one part system, kill another rise. Lorenzo over no speak, second shot. Chest, heart, eyes wide disbelief. Light fade, body still, Voss died. Cold concrete, no honor blood. Dark Lorenzo rifle shake, turn Victor baby, break, Victor forward. Sun arm. Pull Lorenzo 3, embrace family whole. Baby stop cry. Open eyes, blue mother, look Victor, smile innocent. Victor tears, no shame, release Luna. Lorenzo, whisper name, decided crescent. Our light Luna, perfect Marco, team, storm over clean body, escort, family drive. Victor call Alex done, Voss dead, son safe, no watch more. Hargrove arrested, FBI raid. Dr. Hale poisoned, system collapse, good handle later now. Home van glided roads east, sky purple gold. Dawn new day first, 12 months, Victor forward no. Fear, justice imperfect, sometimes shots, mother hell. Justice only kind matters, 7 months, spring. Pacific coast, palm, green villa, rebuilt new spirit kids, laughter yard, Lucas chase. Kite boy, transformed cheeks, full eyes, joy love terrace. Lorenzo bench, Luna arms, 17-month tug, hair chuckle, Lorenzo recovered, hair shoulder skin, glow smile. Victor window library view, run Russo shift. Legit tech galleries clubs, light for kids today. Special desk adoption, Lucas Russo name family. Victor terrace handpapers, Lorenzo red tears. Official Victor nod call, Lucas dash kite. Breathless no day. Lucas curious today. Official Russo son, Luna brother, Maria grandson. Family eternal Lucas stare, papers lips, tremble really. Lorenzo answer real as here. Lucas arms cry, silent home found Maria out eyes wet hug. Grandson teach risotto tradition terrace sunset. Gold Luna sleep Lucas head shoulder Maria stories laugh. Family, not perfect theirs. Pain love bound shadows, man alone room, stare photo, Russo. Terrace, happy phone boss failed, arrogant. No errors continue, watch, wait, moment, call, end, study, image, eyes cold. War begin, but story another day now Russo. Peace deserved, reminds family not blood. Find storm choose, stay Lucas orphan hope, Lorenzo overcame. Victor light power belief, love never give up, subscribe more, like share, tell feel remind. Real met, like Lucas Lorenzo, comment wish, strength joy peace, thank farewell, next.